Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all well, and hopefully you can see behind me I've got another treat here for you guys, a Merlo Turbo Farmer 42.7. So my first impressions of the machine are that it's very heavily built. If you just have a look at the front axle, for example, now that's a proper front axle, look at that. They haven't messed around there. A lot of the parts from Merlo, believe it or not, they're actually made in-house. They're made in Italy by the company, and looking around the machine you can see that they really haven't messed around. Out of all of the telehandlers I've had a look at over the last year, because I've been looking at quite a few now, this is probably so far the heaviest built machine I've seen. And the reason for that is the front axle, the middle boom design. So if you look at the thickness of the steel going straight down the middle of the boom, this is just unbelievable, the thickness of the steel there. And also, quite an interesting story with the boom. They don't look as heavy or as beefy as a 4-ton lift on a alternative model, on an alternative manufacturer's machine, but that's because the boom on a Merlo is actually made of Scandinavian first grade steel. So that's why a Merlo's boom is slightly thinner, is because it's actually stronger. So they don't need to create as much of a boom because, like I said, Scandinavian first grade steel on there. So that's why that is. And I mean, the quality of this machine is really top notch, and you can just see that they really care about every little thing on this machine, every little piece, the way everything's designed. Even on the headstock there's a special identification system, so it knows what attachment it's got on at any given point, if it's got a Merlo attachment, for example a grab or a bucket. And then as we just move around to the side of the machine, this being the Turbo Farmer model, I'll just have a look up here. Have a look at this. We've got a 140 horsepower 4-cylinder Deutz engine, and it's also got a AdBlue system on the side there for dealing with the emissions. Quite nicely tucked away actually, considering the day and age that we're in. I mean, you can see the engine there. We've got a Deutz engine, filters just down below, very nice and simple, which is just what we want. We've got your alternator just on the side there. This is our cooling pack here, and then just below that we've got a Rexroth 150 litre hydraulic pump in there. Very nicely laid out actually, I must say. If I had any issues with this machine, it's pretty easy to get to them. Very unusual to have that in today's day and age. Now something else as well which I think is pretty cool is all around the side of the machine here, if you just have a look as we follow the machine around, there's a solid frame of metal which follows its way all the way underneath the engine body there. So if you were to hit into I don't know, let's say a wall in a cattle shed or something, that's not gonna go anywhere, trust me. And then as we go up, the frame then goes back into the chassis there. But very nicely designed. The exhaust, yes, it sticks out a bit at the back, but actually it lines up with the pillar of the cab, so when you're inside the cab you can't really see the exhaust, so it doesn't make a difference. It's actually got Dunlop Flex mudguards, so Dunlop Flex, whatever you'd like to call them. They're very good Dunlop with rubber and plastic materials, so these will actually, if you do just nudge them, they do flex quite nicely. And as I said guys, this thing, it's literally built like a tank. You know, just looking at the thickness of the steel there, there's your rear bushing pin for the main lift boom, and then above that you've just got your boom guard. But yeah, very heavily put together. A lot of dairy farmers actually have these telehandlers, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know. A lot of arable farmers, and this is probably the creme de la creme of this model here, is the cab suspension. And this is the unit here, if you just have a look. So the cab is bolted on there to the chassis. So just looking underneath, we can see that we've got 4 sections underneath the cab here, and then we've also as well in there got a hydraulic ram, which is which makes up the cab suspension. It's on this leveling system here, so if you go over a bump, the idea is that the cab will just float up and down to compensate for the bump you will have hit. And I've used it this afternoon, just actually driving around the yard, and it was pretty damn impressive. If you combine it with the boom suspension, it is quite a package for a telehandler. It's really impressive. So I've just got a bit of muck over the road. I've just been making a temporary muck pile, and I'll just take it over the road now. This week I'm actually going to muck out some sheds with this, so we've got quite a bit of mucking out to do with the Merlo whilst it's here. Thanks to Merlo UK for letting me have this machine for a period of time, and yeah, without further ado, we'll take it on the farm and we'll see how we get on with it. Getting into the cab, we've just got a couple of steps down here, and then a nice handrail on the side to just lift ourselves up into here. And then this is what it's like being in the cab. So very good visibility actually to the left and to the right, and also to the back as well, hopefully you guys can see. And the exhaust doesn't really stick out, as you can see, it's just behind that pillar there, so it doesn't really matter. And then you've got good visibility to the back as well. Just put the ignition on. There's our screen just warming up. So something which I thought was quite handy with this machine is the fact that it's got a weighing system on it. So on the boom, you can actually weigh how much material is in the bucket, for example. You can zero it, and that is going to be really handy for the biomass business which I'm starting, when I'm going to be selling wood chip to other people, or to other businesses. So I'll be able to measure exactly how much wood chip is going into a trailer, for example, using the computer just on the right hand side here. So it's quite a nice system if you want to know how much material, for example, you're moving or you're shifting. So here we go, I'll just head across the road now, and we'll just head off to go and push up the muck pile. So here we are, just coming across the road. So I've just got the muck pile over here, which I've made temporarily here, and just going to come in with the Merlo. I've got the door open. It's lovely actually being able to get in and out of this cab without a bottom half of the door. So the hydraulics are really quite responsive. Like I said, it's got a 150 litres a minute pump, and the boom has got a decent amount of response actually. The transmission is quite smooth. When you take your foot off the accelerator, it just comes to a gradual standstill, which I quite like. And forward and reverse is done with this button down here, hopefully you guys can see. Do you know what, since driving this this afternoon, I've been really enjoying driving this Merlo. So I'm just in the first stage on the tortoise here for my transmission range, and I just press neutral there on the joystick and then just get back into reverse. I've got my sun shield up on the top of the cab here, and that's lovely on this spring evening today. It's just blocking out a bit of the sun. I used to drive a Merlo when I was a bit younger, when I was working on a farm down in Essex, and driving this is taking me back a bit. But this is slightly more updated than the one I drove, and yeah, I do like them. I really do. You can set the revs you need for your response on your joystick just on a dial down here. So I've just increased the revs slightly. If I increase them all the way, you'll see what I mean. So with the joystick now, it revs up quite a bit to get that boom response, but if I turn it down, you can see that it won't have the same response. So it's quite nice that you can fine tune the response you want from the boom. And then back into reverse on the joystick. So yeah, only a small muck pile, but just to get to grips with it today, just to learn how to use this again. Very quick hydraulics, absolutely rapid. The turning circle's good, as I'll just demonstrate to you guys. Can pretty much more or less turn on the spot. That's pretty damn good for a 7 metre machine. It's pretty good as well, very good. So we'll just head off and we'll go back to the farm. Just pushing up the main muck pile around the back of the farm as well, where the cows are, where the heifers are. And again, the Merlo is just handling these muck piles an absolute dream around the yard. The hydrostatic transmission as well, it's just proving to be a very capable and smooth machine. So there you go guys, just a little taster there of what's to come with the green machine. Don't forget to get your Olly's Farm mugs from the Teespring store. But yeah, just nice this evening to just try it out there, just pushing up the muck piles. As I said, I will be mucking out some sheds later on this week with the Merlo. Also as well, I'm going to load the biomass boiler, and I've also got some bales to move as well. It's going to be a little bit difficult because I've only got a set of pallet tines and a bucket, but I'm sure I'll be able to move some bales with the pallet tines just to get an idea of what it's like. But yeah, so far I'm quite impressed with the Merlo because of the 2-stage hydrostatic transmission around the yard. It's silky smooth. When you take your foot off the accelerator, it comes to a gradual standstill. That's a plus point. Also as well, the cab suspension is a pretty neat feature on it, and I'll try and show you guys what I mean about that if I go across a bumpy field. And this is something which I will be looking at for loading the lorries for the biomass system. Also as well, it will be working with the livestock in the winter months as well, so it'll be pretty busy on the farm, doing all sorts of tasks throughout the year. But yeah, it's really nice to see a turbo farmer finally, because I've wanted to have one on the farm for some time. So yeah, elsewhere on the farm, I finished cultivating. Jeffrey managed to drill the rest of the spring barley today, and if we just go over here, I've just rested up the Pottinger over here, Pottinger Synchro, and I've just got to change the points on this for the next season, but I've got a bit of bird cover just to cultivate before I do change the points, so they don't need changing just yet until I've done that job. And then just on the right, I've got the Can-Am. Unfortunately, the Massey Ferguson 135, the restorations had to be put on hold because of what's been going on in the world. So it's going to be a bit of an issue trying to get that restored now. But I'm sure with time I'll be able to source the parts I need from AgriLine, who have been very kind to me with getting the parts for that tractor. So keep watching, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Don't forget to tap the little bell so you can be notified when there's a new video from the channel. And also don't forget about your Olly's Farm mugs. And I will catch you guys on the next video when I'm going to be mucking out the shed with the Merlo.